Hey guys, this is Christy. In this video I am doing a pregnancy question and answers. All of these questions have been asked in the past 2 weeks on my 35 and 36 week pregnancy updates. So I am 37 plus 1 day today. And yeah, there's some really good questions, some things I have already thought about and worried about, as well as just other ones that I haven't, and I'm very happy to answer. If I have missed your question, I'm sorry, or if you have more questions, just leave them in the comments down below. If I have a lot, I'll do another one, but yeah, I'm always happy just to type up my answers in case anyone's wondering anything else. The first one is, are you worried about Chloe and Tripsy not getting enough attention once the baby is born? Well, as you guys know, my dogs are my life. Like, I'm a total dog mom. Chloe and Tripsy are my babies. And while I do know that that dynamic will change, I mean, I am aware that an infant, a human child's needs take precedence over the dogs, and obviously it's just a completely different world. It is something that I want to make sure we still give the dogs a lot of attention so they don't feel like replaced or feel upset and Trip's like, me, come here. So a big thing for me is that I've spoken to Dan. I was like, at the beginning I have to breastfeed every 2 hours, so I'm gonna be really busy. And so I said, you know, I will probably rely on you to walk the dogs a little bit more, which he does, but for the most part it's me. So I said, yeah, I'll need you to do that. But one thing that I think will work well, we're not planning on co-sleeping. We do have a bassinet that will go beside the bed on my side, but it's just a different method. Co-sleeping is where you have like a little bed type thing that sits, like that lays in the middle of your bed, like between the two partners or just the one person. So we're not doing that, because that's where the dogs sleep, and Chloe like sleeps tucked up in my arm usually. So I think that will be good. That dynamic won't change. Obviously, yes, I will be waking up every 2 hours, but Chloe's getting a little older now, so she just sleeps through everything. She doesn't usually get up as soon as like the slightest little noise, hopefully. So I think that'll be good, that we'll still have that kind of mom-dog bonding time. But obviously a lot of my attention will be going towards the baby. And yeah, right now Chloe is totally my baby. I'm picking her up, I'm cradling her, like, and it's been like that for years. So I think it definitely will be an adjustment. But I mean, the best we can do is just make a conscious effort to still walk the dogs, play with the dogs, just give them attention. The first couple weeks, while Dan and I are still getting used to everything, they may get a little less attention than normal, just because we'll be so overwhelmed and tired and everything. But I think once we get into a routine of things, hopefully, I hope they don't feel sad and like, yeah, aww. Okay, so the next question is, are we doing a name reveal? So I think I might have commented on this one. We may, but at the same time we haven't chosen a name yet. We're still between a couple. But we just can't agree. I have two favorites. One Dan shot down right away, and so that's fine. And then the other one that I really like, he doesn't like, and he likes a couple, and I don't like those. So there are a few that, yeah, he doesn't love the ones I love. I don't love the ones he loves. There are a couple where we both like them, but neither of us loves the names. We just don't dislike the names, which isn't very good, but yeah, so we're still talking about it. We have thought about, now again, things may change depending on what first name. We are thinking of doing Robert as a middle name. That's Dan's grandfather's name. So yeah, we're thinking of doing that, but we just can't decide on a first name. We have so many girls' names that we would have picked out, but just don't know a girl's or a boy's name yet. So we think, because now we're 3 weeks away, we think we'll probably have a couple that we'll choose, and then, yeah, we'll have maybe like 3, and when we see him, hopefully, we will know. Fingers crossed, or then it will be a very stressful time in the hospital where I'm like, let's just name him, we have to come up with a name. Well, if that happens, we'll probably get my choice of name. We'll see. So the next question is, can we see the nursery and what's in my hospital bag? So I will be showing both those things. Neither of them are ready yet. Dan, like I mentioned in my last video, Dan has been on me about getting my hospital bag ready as well, which I was going to do today, but then I didn't. So hopefully in the next couple days I will. Yes, I should. And so once I have it packed, I definitely will show that. And again, nursery is not made yet. Now Dan's been working even more, which I think is another question coming up, if we're taking time off. So Dan is as well, but he's working as much as he can up until that point, because then obviously, and he doesn't get paternity leave. He just has to take off, I think he's doing 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks just without pay. So he's, yeah, working as much as he can. I think he's working he had yesterday off, and then on all the way up until Friday every day, and then he gets Friday off again. So 6 days on, 1 day off, essentially. But anyway, yeah, so we haven't painted because he was going to paint, and then him and his dad were going to build the baby furniture, which we haven't obviously done that either. We wanted to get painting ready first, or out of the way first, but I also just want to get things packed onto the furniture in the dresser. So we will see. It won't be happening this week because Dan is working so much. But when it does, I will definitely show you and do a reveal, and maybe do like bits, like as the process goes on, over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Come on, it has to happen soon. Yeah, I'll show you little pieces of it and what we're working on. So this next one is a really good question that I've given a little bit of thought into, but not too in-depth yet. So this one is, I know it's a while away till the baby will eat solid food, but have you thought about if the baby will be a vegetarian? And then also, second part, have you ever mentioned why you became a vegetarian? So I'll first answer why I personally became a vegetarian. Basically, when I was young, I loved animals. And when I was old enough, which was still pretty young, to realize, well, beef comes from cows and pork comes from pigs. I mean, pigs were my favorite animal. So when I made that connection, I stopped eating anything pork. And then we would go hiking when we would visit Switzerland every year to visit my family, my grandfather. And yeah, we'd go hiking, I'd be petting the cows, and then we'd come home and have like a beef dish. And then I was like, cows are so cute, and I was petting them and loving them, and now I'm eating cows. And for a while when I was even younger, my parents would say, oh no, but these were old cows, they were going to die anyways, which when I was like 8 and 9, that made me happy enough. I was happy with that answer. Oh, okay, that makes sense. And then as I got older, you know, you do see images and things of slaughterhouses and things, so I don't know, I just couldn't eat that anymore. So I stopped eating what I deemed cute animals, which sounds terrible. But basically I still ate poultry, and maybe fish. I never really liked the taste of fish, but again, in my mind, those weren't cute, which there are some pretty cute fish and poultry as well. But anyway, so I still ate like chicken and turkey. And then once we were somewhere in a supermarket, my mom bought some chicken, and I just happened to look at the ingredients and saw that there was like beef fat injected in it to make it more juicy. And at that point, I hadn't been eating beef or pork for I think a couple years by then. And so then, I mean, it was just one random brand, but that just got me so outraged. So I'm like, I'm never eating meat again. So for me, I mean, now then as I got older, yes, there's so much of the ethical side behind it, but really as I became a vegetarian, I think a full vegetarian at 12, the reasoning in my head was just because they're cute, I like animals, I don't want to eat animals. Okay, so then the next part is, will I raise my child, or our child, vegetarian? And well, for the first 6 months, they're exclusively breastfed or bottle fed. They don't do solids. And then you introduce, you know, like little baby food, soft food, baby cereal and things like that. So, I mean, again, things will change in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. However, although I hate to say it, I do not think I will raise my child vegetarian. For me, it was a personal choice, but I cannot... Battery just died. It's a very long video. I think I will put timestamps below so when I'm answering what question. So as I was editing, I realized I was talking about this as well as like 4 other questions for quite a few more moments. I was originally just doing a voiceover, but then when I realized all the other questions that I thought were filming and was not, I figured I'll just jump up on here. So with regards to the vegetarian issue, even though I will be his mom, I don't feel that I can make that decision for him because he is a child. Now, if when he's a little older and he comes to us and says, you know, I don't want to eat meat, I would love that. But yeah, I just don't want to make that decision for him. That being said, we will be mostly plant-based. Even here, we don't eat, or Dan doesn't eat a lot of meat, but he is not a vegetarian. So we just don't feel that it is fair to, raise our child vegetarian. I personally won't be cooking meat, but if like the little baby food jars is like a beef and pea, I would feed that to him. And down the road, I will rely on Dan to cook any meat that he does, just because after 15 years, I do not know how to cook meat. And Dan does eat mostly vegetarian, only if we go out or if we're having like burgers or something, then he'll have meat. But for the most part, we plan to raise our son plant-based mostly, but not completely saying, he's not going to have meat in his diet. Also, I know that as a vegetarian, I try to have a well-rounded diet, but I'm low in iron and low in vitamin B12. At least I am an adult, but for a growing child, they need all of that nutrients. And it's, I'm not saying you cannot raise a child vegetarian or vegan the healthy way, but it's just a lot more difficult. And again, just based on our lifestyle that Dan loves meat. He probably wishes we could have more meat. We just decided that he won't be exclusively vegetarian, but just mostly plant-based like our lifestyle already is. Do you have any embarrassing symptoms, like lots of gas, farting, burping, etc., or just embarrassing symptoms in general? Well, it's not that embarrassing. Like, I've heard people have like a whole lot of gas. With me, I don't have any more burping, except that Dan always lets me have the first sip of his like Sprite if he opens a can, or root beer or something. So then I burp because I just don't usually drink pop. But that's just because I'm having pop. But what, a little TMI maybe. And it's not embarrassing, it's just a little, well, it only happens at home. I'm not self-conscious in front of Dan, but it's still just a little weird. First thing in the morning, every morning, for the past about month and a half, when I get up, first thing to go to the bathroom just to go pee, I always fart when I'm on the toilet. Like, just teeny little, like 3 little tiny farts. And it's not that I have to go poop yet, but it just comes. So I guess just kind of something about how I sit on the toilet, and yeah, but for the past month and a half, every single morning, which never used to happen before, and it just happens. So that's, yeah. But again, no one else is in the house. I'm not in a public place. It's just Dan that's in the bedroom or already downstairs or off at work. So who really cares? But it's just something different that's been happening. Other embarrassing symptoms? Not really. When I had my low iron, it was kind of embarrassing when I had to sit at the side of the road, because then I tried to make it that if I could make it to like in front of someone's house where they have a hedge or something, or then there's a place where there's a roundabout. So I'm not sitting right on someone's property. But there was one, I was sitting on the roundabout, but it like was facing someone's house, and this lady, she like kept looking out of the window at me, and then like a minute later she'd come by and look again, and I was just sitting there like, maybe she was concerned, but she didn't come out and ask me if I'm okay. And I tried to, then sit up a little, but it was just when I had my low iron, And then it got to the point where I could barely like walk or stand more than a couple minutes, and I just had to sit down, otherwise I was gonna faint. So often it was just like, no, I gotta sit down here. But sometimes I could kind of feel it coming, and then I knew I had about a minute left until I was gonna faint. So I could at least get to somewhere. But I mean, that was kind of embarrassing. Or then cars driving by and just watching me sitting at the side of the road. And at that point, I was pregnant, but not that pregnant, and I was still wearing like some baggy shirts. So it just looked like this weirdo sitting at the side of the road. So that was embarrassing to me, but realistically, those people don't know me and they were concerned. They could have asked. But anyways. Have you had anyone ask to rub or touch the belly bump to feel baby move or kick, and how do you feel about belly touches? So, I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's kind of nice, but at this point, because we have the coronavirus, I'm rarely going out of the house, and when I am going out of the house, everyone's standing far away, so no one is. Even recently I saw a bunch of people. We all were separated 6 feet apart, so no one was touching me. However, there was one at my work, and I came for a staff meeting or something. And at work, at the vet, we were not allowing clients in, but we were we were just maintaining our distance as much as we could, but not 6 feet, because I mean, when you're restraining an animal or something like that, you can't be 6 feet apart. You all have to be crowded around that animal. We were wearing masks. Anyway, so I came in for a staff meeting and I was wearing normal clothes, not my scrubs, which would kind of, they're baggy and they are thicker material, so they hide the belly a little bit. And one of my coworkers, she complimented me on my shirt, which I think was my one maternity shirt that I have. So I was like, oh, thank you. And then she's like, oh yeah, it looks really nice. And then she's like, oh, come here. So I walked towards her, and then she just put her hand on my belly, which I don't know, I honestly thought she was looking at the shirt or something. So that was a little weird. Now, I mean, I love all of my coworkers, and she's a mom herself. So it wasn't like a creepiness. It was just like, oh, I didn't expect that. You know, again, there's another girl who's younger than me, and she would always ask, oh, can you feel it moving? Can you feel it moving? And I honestly said, no, not right now. It's only usually in the evenings and stuff, or early in the morning, or then when I'm lying down, not like when I'm standing. So I think, well, I think she would have at least probably asked, so can I feel it or something. But again, we were kind of all distancing, so no one has except that one person. And then Dan does, and I'm like, oh, come here, feel. Obviously, Dan, we're living in the same house, but I'm like, oh, feel this, feel this. And then he gets up off the couch, comes over, feels it, and I'm like, oh, stop. That happens so often, so I feel bad. But almost every time he still gets up to come over. So then this one is, which I think I answered half of it, what kind of work does Dan do? He is an x-ray technician, so he works at 2 of the hospitals in my city in Victoria, as well as he works at some private clinics as well. So he has been working normal hours throughout COVID because people are still needing x-rays throughout the pandemic. So it's been a relief, I guess, that he hasn't lost income. But again, there was that risk of he's going out of the house into potentially COVID infected areas at the hospitals. And yeah, if someone comes into the hospital has COVID, you can't refuse to treat them. They need an x-ray, you have to take an x-ray. Yes, you wear all your PPE gear, but still, like, it's just that risk. But thankfully, knock on wood, up until this point, he hasn't caught COVID, and actually there hasn't been, as far as I'm aware, there haven't been any new cases on Vancouver Island, or especially my city, for a while now, so yay! And still, we're all being conscious, but yeah, that's good. So then this next part is very personal. I will answer it, but I won't go too much into depth. So it says, how do you feel about circumcision? So I know it's a very controversial topic. Dan and I, we will not be circumcising him. We don't have any religious belief that would suggest that we should, so we have decided we're not going to. I'm not going to go that much in depth. I know there's so many, like, the people are strongly for it or against it. We just think for our child, we are not going to. So next one is, how many kids do we want? So I got asked this recently in person, and I was like, well, they're like, oh, how many do you want? 2, 3? And I was like, let us get through this first and we'll see how we cope with 1. But I think realistically we would like 2. Both Dan and I, we each had 1 sibling. I have an older sister, he has an older brother, and we both liked growing up with an older sibling. So I think we'll hopefully be able to have another child, not anywhere down, like right away. My sister is 5 years older, and I think Dan's brother is 4 years older. I think so, yeah. So again, maybe 5 years even, I don't know. So there's a larger gap between us, so it won't be anytime soon if we do. But at this point, we just want to enjoy our little one when he comes and spend our time with him, as well as the dogs. And yeah, not be thinking about another child anytime soon. And then actually going back to the question about the dogs, what will the dogs, Chloe and Tripsy, think about the baby? She's like, I think they'll be the best big sisters. I hope so. I hope down the road they will. I'm a bit worried about Chloe per se, just because, well, I don't know, like she's very tolerable of Tripsy. Tripsy just climbs right on top of her and goes to sleep on her, and she's fine with that. Whereas if Chloe tries to do it with Tripsy, Tripsy will kind of be like, don't step on me. However, when we first met my nephew, my sister's son, Tripsy sniffed him and then ignored him, like she didn't really care. Chloe was a little bit more worried, I guess? I don't know, like she never, well, we also didn't allow it to get to the point where she would become aggressive, but she was kind of like, why is he making that sound, or why is he moving like that? And so she was just unsure, but sometimes uncertainty can lead to aggression. Which again, and I don't think so. When we met him, my sister's son, we were at my mom's house. There was all the excitement of, you know, greeting my sister's dogs and greeting my sister. And I think my sister had dog treats in her pocket. So then of course Chloe, she's so food motivated. I think she wanted those dog treats, and then she's like, why is this little person, or why is this little thing in the way I want in that pocket? So, I mean, I hope that's all it was. We are planning on, and it's a little tricky because Dan can only leave the hospital once a day. Hopefully we're not going to be in the hospital. I'm not going to be in the hospital too long, but, and everything goes well. But that's just how hospitals here are working right now. But I've heard a lot of people, you have one of the, like a little swaddle blanket or blanket that's wrapped in the baby while at the hospital, and then for the husband to come home sometime before, you know, mom and baby come home, and just show and give the blanket to the dogs for them to smell it. Again, people don't do this, dogs are fine, and hopefully the dogs will recognize that it's, you know, the baby is part of us, it's part of our pack. But I've heard a lot of people do that and had pretty good results with that, so yeah, I really hope the dogs are good. I mean, yeah, I think I see so many pictures of babies snuggling with dogs, and it's so cute. So I want ours to do that as well. Not at first, obviously, and always, you know, watching the dogs around him. I mean, we're barely gonna leave his side, realistically. But yeah, I just really hope that everything goes well with it. But I mean, it'll take some patience. If it does, then that's what it is. We're definitely not making any changes. I mean, we're not getting rid of the dogs ever at all. So even if it comes to just having to keep them separated for, like with baby gates and things, for quite a long time until we can gradually get them comfortable with each other, I mean, obviously we're willing to do that. So we have three baby gates. So we can kind of position things around. Obviously more planning ahead for when little one will be crawling and walking. But yeah, just, I mean, if Chloe wants to always go into his room if he's napping and bark at him, then we can put a baby gate at the front of the door, so we don't have to close the door, but just put a baby gate. And thankfully they're small dogs, so they can't climb over or jump over the baby gates. So then the last question is, or 2 questions: do you plan on taking full maternity leave, and is Dan able to get some time off as well? So yes, Dan will be, as I mentioned, taking some time off, but unpaid time off. I think he's working for 2 more weeks, and then he has about 4 or 5 weeks off. And so hopefully that will be enough. Yeah, just to help out getting me adjusted and him bonding with the baby, and hopefully I won't have to do a C-section, but you never know. And then I'll need a lot more help around the house and just in general. But yeah, so he's taking some time off. Myself, as most of you know, I have 2 jobs. I am a after-school drama teacher, as well as working at a vet clinic. So at the vet clinic, I used to work 2 full days a week plus 2 half days. Then I got it down because it was a bit much to just 2 full days. So I would work every Friday, Saturday. And then with COVID hitting, we were closed Saturdays. So I've just worked every Friday since March. But already in like January, when I mentioned it to my manager, it was decided that I would be taking the full 1.5 years off for maternity leave. I'm only getting paid for the year, so 12 months off, but I had the option to take 18 months off, and just that last bit will be unpaid. Or you can do it, you can get paid, it's just a lower percentage, but just with everything else going on, that doesn't work for us. So I will be doing, yeah, just 12 months off maternity leave pay, which realistically, when you only work like 1 or 2 days a week at the vet, it's not much, but still, it's just nice to basically be able to take time off and have my job guaranteed when I come back in January 2022. So that's a very long time. So I am taking that leave off for a full 18 months. And then my teaching, I love teaching. I mean, I've been doing it for 15 years now. And a lot of the students I have, I've been teaching them for about 4 years. And I know they would do really well with other teachers as well, but I just don't want to give them up. And I just love it. So basically right now I teach 4 days a week, or not now, it's summer holidays, but I had been teaching 4 days a week from after school time to about 7 o'clock. So what I plan to do, because I teach at 2 different schools, I'm going to be teaching 1 day a week at each school with kind of reduced, like less students per day as well. So that means less prep work as well. So parents have been very understanding. They all still want to continue with me. And I won't be able to take everyone. I have to cut my students in half essentially, and almost everyone is continuing, so it's been really tricky, but parents are understanding because I told them it's because I'm pregnant and I'm giving birth in a couple weeks now. So I will be continuing to teach 2 days a week. I've decided to do it on days where I will have, because I used to do it Monday to Thursday every day, like full, and so I'm going to be teaching I think Monday and Wednesday, so I have a day in between, or maybe Monday and Thursday, just so I don't have to do prepping like in the evening when I come home or the next morning. So I have kind of a full day and a half or 2 days to get everything ready. So I'm very fortunate that Dan has agreed to take those 2 either full days off or at least those afternoon evenings off. Yeah, I'm just very thankful that he's so supportive. He knows how important it is to me, so yeah, he's willing to do that, to take 2 days afternoons off, like basically say I cannot work those days. So I'm happy about that. I do have a couple or 2 teachers on call. One is a retired teacher. She's not teaching anymore, but sometimes she can step in, and has sometimes for one of the other teachers when she was ill throughout the year. So I have her number that I can call upon, as well as some of the other teachers who don't teach on my day. So again, if something's not going well with me or the little one, and I honestly cannot come in, then there's that option. And which has kind of been again, I don't want to say that I was happy about COVID, but a blessing in disguise. Since April, we've been doing online lessons through Zoom, so now actually people are used to it. So if if I'm sick, instead of having to miss a day or get a substitute, and pay them, I can be like, well, why don't we do a makeup lesson on Zoom for this week? So it's actually really good, and parents have all been so supportive with being like doing online lessons, as well as they were doing it for school too. So it's not something that I would not have even thought of before this, but because of COVID and how we've had to adapt and change so many things, it's actually an option now. It is a lot more work, so I wouldn't want to do it like regularly, but yeah, that's an option as well that I could just fall back upon. So yeah, that's good. So Christy from the future again. The next question that I missed because my battery died was, how much weight have you gained? So at this point, I've gained just under 30 pounds from when I became pregnant. It's like 27 and a half, but again, that kind of fluctuates. Which when it was at like 20 pounds, I was freaking out and was just like, oh my God, I'm going to gain so much weight. It has stabled a little bit. I'm not eating any healthier, but yeah, stabled a little bit. I think the hardest part for me was that comparing myself more to not when I became pregnant, but more to this time last year. So I got married last June 22nd, almost our anniversary. And from February to June 2019, I worked really hard. I watched what I ate. I did not eat any, like rarely sweets. I worked out a little bit more. Main thing was that, yeah, I just ate really healthy. And I lost about 25 pounds. So from this time last year, yeah, I've gained almost like 50 pounds, and that's sad. But then after the wedding, I went back to my normal eating habits plus our Mediterranean honeymoon and all around Italy. So I gained a lot of it back. So yes, from when I became pregnant, technically at the end of September, I have gained 27 pounds. And then the next question is, do I have any stretch marks, and am I using anything for them? I mentioned this a little bit in one of my update videos. I do have some stretch marks now, not a ton, just a little bit like right near my belly button. I am not using anything for them. I know a lot of people, they like swear by a product that they apply twice a day and they didn't have stretch marks. I personally believe that it is mostly genetic. So you're either going to have them or you're not going to have them. Now, that being said, after a bath, I will rub in a little bit of body lotion. Right now, I'm using a Vino one because that's the one I was gifted. But I don't do it like twice a day, every day. It's just when I remember after I get out of the bath, just to keep my skin moisturized. But again, it's part of, even if I do have a whole belly of stretch marks, it's just part of it, part of childbirth and growing a little human inside of you. Did I do maternity photos or a belly cast? So I did not do a belly cast. Personally, that's not something I'm interested in. I think you like hang it up on the wall. We don't really have a lot of wall art, so that's just not something that I would do. And then between the maternity photos are expensive. Photographers are very talented at what they do. They spend a lot of time editing. And so it was between maternity photos or newborn photos, and I felt that I would rather spend my money on newborn photos. So we have already tentatively booked someone who, when I give birth, then I'll be in contact with them, and then within the first 10 days, we'll do a little mini photo shoot. Yeah, we decided not to do maternity photos. I'd rather have photos of the little one. But that being said, we actually did some impromptu maternity photos of just Dan and I that he took with his iPhone that I actually found out, and I'll talk more about this in my 37-week update video, was just a ruse to get me out of the house. But yeah, he took some maternity photos. We just did a nice drive, went to like by the water, just us. So nothing professional, but it was fun. And then the last question is, do I have the pregnancy waddle? I totally do. Like up until like a couple days ago, I did not. I was still walking fine. But no, belly's getting bigger. I'm getting more uncomfortable. So yeah, I got the pregnancy waddle now, but that's okay. It's part of it. We're like less than 3 weeks away now. So it is what it is. All right. So those are all of the questions. And now that I'm looking in the viewfinder, I think I've been fuzzy for the whole time and that it's been focused on those balloons. But luckily this is not like a beauty video or anything where you actually have to see me. You can just listen, and that's good too. So sorry. It's still just, I'm still trying to figure out this room and this lighting, and there's a huge, like usually I like filming in front of natural light, so we have this huge sliding door, patio door right out here, but then there's nothing over here for me to sit, so I'm like at an angle, and it's just, I don't know, I'll figure it out someday soon. But thank you again to everyone who sent me or commented with questions. I hope this 45-minute, I don't even know how long, because I had to change battery, and then it got broken in half as well because it was too long. So I hope this video was interesting, and I answered everyone's questions. Like I said, if you have anything else, just leave me a comment and I will happily answer it. And yeah, hopefully I didn't bore you in all my rambling too much. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on Friday with my 37-week pregnancy update. Bye.